this came from a very reputable industry trade paper.
It's beautiful out here, though.
And
Yeah.
it's this listed the manager
Yeah, it's very pretty.
as Scott McGee, who is Doc McGee's brother, and has a huge, long history in managing.
I'm
And
just
was
saying, from
very involved in Skid Row back in the day.
Los Angeles to, like,
But
you know
it
what I mean?
listed
Yeah.
the management
To go from there to
contact,
here, I mean, that's not very far at all.
and
Look
listed
at,
the
like, what it
booking
turns
address.
into.
Yeah.
So this was put out. This was not like
This must be where
a
all the other people
member
live.
kind of mentioning it in an interview and it taking off like Newstead did with the Van Halen thing. This is coming
Some
from
nice houses.
Big houses.
the industry Bible
Yeah, them still some big ones.
and
Wow.
referencing
They got my
and
bushes
putting
there.
out the
My
information
trees.
as to who's running this behind the scenes for people who want to buy dates, who they should be talking to and kick the tires. So the reason why Zach and or Charlie and others may not be saying anything, maybe there's some parts of this that still need to be buttoned up. And maybe the
All
billboard
three of
thing,
them.
Yeah.
people I'm talking to are telling me maybe jumped the gun a little
Oh,
bit
this
and caught
Honda
everybody
up
by
here looked like
surprise, and
exactly
now
like
they're
you
trying
would
to figure out how to
Me
do
too,
it.
me too.
It's entirely possible that there's parts of this that are not figured out, meaning deal points and things like that. Because remember, as much it may be, and that's all well and good, there's still a deal that's got to be made.
Well, there's a good little slowdown up
Yeah, there's
there.
still
Is there?
percentages and
Yeah.
money and splits
Okay.
and merch and all of that. Nobody,
It's red, but
unless
it's
you're an
not.
idiot, you don't go into
Okay.
it.
I don't see
without
anything on
having
the
all
map
that
I
buttoned up.
recognize.
It's just like when Gene and Paul continually say, well, Ace and
Wow.
Peter are welcome to come to a show. They're not showing up without a deal. You gotta have the deal in place. It's big business at the end of the day. It's always business. So there's so many different angles to this. It's just really, really interesting. Maybe this was not even supposed to be made public yet. Maybe there was a jump the gun here.
Gardens of the
Here's Scott in Rochester. Hey, Scott.
Hey, I just want to talk about this real quick. So, you know, everyone loves Vinny and Dive, like, universally. And if Thursdays are cool with this, I say go for it, man. You couldn't have picked better villains than Zach and Charlie. You gotta remember, Rex and Phil were half of Pantera. Everyone wants to be like, oh, Vinny and Dive were Pantera. Yes, they were very important parts of Pantera. We loved them, we missed them. But Rex and Phil were 50% of Pantera, so I think they have, you know, rights to the Pantera name too. My only beef with this whole thing is, I wish they tour as something other than Pantera. Tour as Far Beyond Driven, or tour as, you know, 5 Minutes Alone, or something along those lines, kind of like Dio did with Sabbath. They toured as hell. I think out of respect for Dime and Vinny, they should maybe honor the Pantera name and maybe tour something a little different. I don't think that'll happen, but I'm excited for it. Let's put it that way. I would go see this in a heartbeat, and, you know, like I said, as long as the estates are okay with it, I'm okay with it too. Just don't pull a catch and try and dress Charlie and Zach off as Dime and Vinny. I mean, Charlie doesn't need to come out with a bandana, and Zach doesn't need a purple beard. Don't pull a kid. Just let it be good.
Well, Scott, thanks for the call. I think that the name thing is an interesting point that Scott brings up, and I get that too, where that's,
Miniature golf park up here. It's
I
pretty
mean,
cool,
do you
actually.
call it remembering Pantera? Do you call it the tribute to Pantera? Do you call it celebrating Pantera? According to the Billboard article, it's just Pantera. Now, a lot can change here, especially if that story leaked early. A lot can change. There could be
Mediterranean
stuff
1,
that-
Mediterranean 2. Now, Lisa, how much are those
gosh
good for?
knows the history of music. Things change and deals fall apart and things change or members change or what have you. But right now, according to the Billboard story, it's just basically billed as Pantera. And the distinction here again is it even regardless of what it's billed as, it's absolutely going to be framed as remembering and paying tribute to those guys. And it doesn't sound like at this point it's going to be an extensive touring thing. Like, I would not expect this to go out and do 100 shows in a row in arenas, or that's the other thing. What do you think the business is on this? I was thinking about that last night before I came on the air. It's clearly a headline at a festival. But we all know there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that go on in billing at festivals. There's a lot of bands that headline festivals, and you pull them off that lineup with 10 other bands that day, and they're playing to 3,000 people. That's really what their actual draw is. I see a lot of that. They're not all of the time, but in a lot of instances. So as a standalone headlining show, what's the draw on this? I honestly, I'm usually pretty good at that, and I'm not entirely sure. In my gut, I feel like it's like 5,000, but and I'm talking just them purely as a headliner, without 15 other bands. But I could be way off on that, because again, the stature of this band and their history and music has grown exponentially in the last 14 or so years. So, I mean, with a strong opening act, it actually, I mean, it could still go in arenas even if they curtained it. I mean, Judas Priest plays arenas, but the arenas are cut in a quarter,
One of the
cut in
houses was
half.
up by that Calabasas Lake.
So-
it was it's $4 million.
That's the other
Wow.
thing, pure full arena
Or
draw
bed.
or curtained arena.
Or bath.
I
Well,
don't know,
there's
I
Thousand
feel like
Oaks.
as a pure headline it's
Where's
around
that, too?
5,000, but I could be off on that. I really could be. I could be very, very surprised, and it could be way more than that.
Oh, 3,299,000.
But I don't know.
3,000
But I
square
do
foot.
know that, yes,
Yeah,
the
Thousand
two
Oaks, this
guys
is a
in Charlie
really
and Zach are
upper
great choices.
Celebrities live.
And they bring name value. And they bring a huge history and friendship with the brothers. And yes, Scott is correct. Or I think it was Scott. Obviously, Phil and Rex is an original member of the band. Of course, Anselmo came in a couple records in from the indie records. Are 50% of the band we know is Pantera. So it's within their rights. Now, the other thing, there's so much stuff that's going through my head. The other thing about this is, I'm assuming the way the business was set up, that the estates of Vinny and Dime would have to sign off on this, or at least one of them would, to give it a 3/4 majority to do it. Meaning that Rita Haney, who was Dime's widow and looks after the Dime world, where does she land on this? And I'm not sure who looks after Vinny's estate, but that would be really interesting as to where they land on this. Because again, there's a huge history here of stuff. This goes way beyond just the music. There's way deep-seated feelings here on so many different levels, which makes this really, really fascinating to find this news out a couple days ago.
Be in any of the 4 left lanes.
There will be a lot to unpack on this going forward as more comes out. Okay, let's do a break. More calls. You want to keep talking Pantera? That's all good. Anything you want to hit me with live on a Free For All Friday on Trunk Nation.
Free for All Friday with Eddie Trunk. He's very well read. Sirius XM. So effing good. Volume.
Like a lot of people left, man. I might be able to get some good real estate out here.
Ask Eddie anything.
Go ahead, you're on Trunk Nation.
The main criteria for induction in the Rock and Roll
San
Hall of Fame
Francisco,
is
394 miles.
Well, let me ask you a business question.
Trunk Nation. Eddie Trunk. Sirius XM. Volume.
Yeah, I got a feeling there's a lot behind the scenes being sorted out still on this thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Joel
I heard
on
that
the
it's up
commercial
there,
break. Now,
but
Joel
not
brings an
Wow,
interesting
yeah.
perspective because
Way up there.
he's a good 20 years younger than me. Joel, how old are you again?
36.
Okay, so you're about 20 years younger than me. So you were saying during the commercial break that for you never saw Pantera. And where you land on this as a fan is that for you it's key that Zach is there. Because Zach is there, and because of the history with Zach,
You probably
that
stop it
it's
again for a little
of
bit.
interest to you. If it wasn't,